Hey Scorpio, welcome to the June 2019 Astrology and Tarot reading. I'm imagining after that full moon in Scorpio on the 18th of May, you really met yourself. In fact, you probably noticed with the Sun and Uranus being in your opposite sign and then the full moon in your sign, it could have felt a little bit like you versus them in some aspect of your life. Almost as though you were in a battle arena. It should have eased up ever so slightly when Venus entered Taurus, because Venus was in Aries, adding to that battling feeling. You might have been battling something with your health, for example, because Aries is there for Scorpio. And the full moon has really brought to the attention of many Scorpios just how much your own worst enemy was yourself, and how much of that frustration was coming from your relationship with self. Full moons in your own sign are very illuminating, but when it's in Scorpio, it really goes deep, it really goes dark, and it really pulls what you need to know right up from the swamp, right up out of the darkness. And for a lot of Scorpios, they had this need, this urge leading up to the full moon to self-destruct. And hopefully you didn't. Hopefully the full moon has released you from some sort of self-imprisoned cage of thought where you have literally enslaved yourself to a certain way of being or doing. One of the problems with astrology, essentially, is that a lot of people think it is an excuse to be a certain way. And when you read the Scorpio profile, I think it's why Scorpio people, myself included, love the profile so much, is because you feel seen or you feel understood. Do you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes there is this sort of need to go back to what you know, because what shapes you, your brain, it really goes back to what's familiar. And sometimes for Scorpios, particularly ones that have had trauma before, whether in relationships or in childhood, your brain can make you repeat that. The Scorpio full moon will have sent a lot of people to therapy. It will have sent a lot of people to channeling. It'll tarot. It'll change the way that you react to your subconscious, to your triggers, to what is empowering you to do self-sabotaging things and behaviors. And Gemini season brings with it this light relief, I guess. Gemini is 8 signs away from Scorpio, putting it in that 8th house arena. So you will feel very much like yourself. You will feel very Scorpiophonic. You will feel very much who you are, but in somewhat of a detached manner. You will have that air sign energy allowing you to be a little bit more receptive, a little bit more open-minded, whilst feeling like you're still being authentic to who you are. The new moon in Gemini being 8 signs away from Scorpio, especially if you're a Scorpio moon, this is a wonderful time to set the intentions that you really, really want the most, who you really want to be. Following up from the full moon in your sign, it's like this release and this clean slate to progress forward. It's not an ending in the way that Scorpios fear, but shedding the old is kind of uncomfortable for Scorpios, and turning into who you are still means saying goodbye to who you were. And for Scorpios, they don't like goodbyes. So it is a wonderful, wonderful energy, so trust it, is what I'm trying to say. Do not fear the change that is going on within you, because I just saw that Ace of Wands. It's a new way of living. It's a new way of being passionate. It's a new way of expressing yourself, particularly in the physical realms. It's a very phallic symbol, but it also generates a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of passion for the things that make you feel like a Scorpio. Scorpio is probably the most passionate sign of the zodiac. Even if your passions are sometimes self-destructive, this is about picking a healthy channel, something to get the energies out there. You have the greatest attention span. And Gemini season isn't a time when people stick to things. It's a time when people flit from thing to thing and topic to topic and person to person and feel fine about it. Scorpio, that's not your nature. Even if you have Gemini moon, you still have a longevity with relationships, and you don't always find change so easy. If you're dealing with an air sign or somebody who is a thinker, or somebody who uses their analytical mind, somebody who likes to think clearly without being overtly guided by emotions. If you're dealing with somebody like that, fate is smiling upon this and things are about to get easier. Communication in particular is going to improve. Note, this is Gemini season. The Wheel of Fortune means things improving for the better. If you're dealing with an Aquarius, Leo, fellow Scorpio, or a Taurus, things are improving here. Luck is changing. This is a very argumentative page, so if you've been in a period of arguments, as is very common with the Sun-Uranus conjunction energy, there's a lot of things conjuncting Uranus. June is more about Gemini energy, and it's going to hit you a lot less, okay? Especially if you have an air sign moon, or a moon in a fixed sign. This season's going to be a lot easier for you, okay, Scorpio? So I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to split the deck and see what we get for our Scorpios. Okay, 8 of Swords, Page of Cups, 4 of Cups, 5 of Wands, and the 5 of Cups. See what else is coming. 10 of Wands, Knight of Wands, 8 of Wands. Okay. And the 3 of Wands is underneath. A lot of Wands energy, a lot of fire energy. You feel a little bit shaken up about something, and I'm sensing, Scorpio, it's most likely a confrontation. That full moon has kind of intensified your emotional responses to people. And as I said, some Scorpios really noticed it about themselves. They really said, I can't do this anymore. I can't be this type of person. You know, I'm better than this. This isn't actually who I am. This is a response through fear or something like that. Because the positive, what's helping you here is rejection, but it's you rejecting something emotional. Cups are emotions. So you're rejecting a certain kind of emotion that is actually working out better for you by ignoring that. By ignoring that trigger, or just saying, no, I'm not going to repeat the old. I'm going to change things up. Now, the downside of this is that there is this element of confrontation that is kind of going around in circles a little bit. It's like an issue that's not quite resolved. 5 of Wands, somebody's really bugging you. And it's not nuclear. It's not an extreme challenge, as it were. However, it may get that way. And the reason that it gets that way, because the person that you're fighting about is probably this Page of Cups, right? Offering you this cup. You're being offered different things. This person that you're fighting with, your relationship depends on what you love about the person versus what you hate about the person. And I say love and I say hate because Scorpio is quite a polarizing sign. Gemini is all about the duality. When you get Gemini and Scorpio, there's extreme dualities. You know, it's more love and hate. So there's always going to be an intensity to this. With the 5 of Cups, your choice, Scorpio, is what you love about your situation or your person versus what's going wrong. Because there's still an offer there. There's still an offer of love. The 2 of Cups will always be, and always has been, a partnership. And it's still standing. Amidst what you've lost or what you've given up, there is something still standing. But Scorpio, the dark cloak that you wear when you go inward is very hard for others to penetrate. It's very hard for others to get through to you when you're like this. Now, it's not your fault that you feel that way, because with the Ten of Wands here, you've had a lot of upheaval and stress. You had a lot of change. The Ten of Wands is ultimately a change, but he doesn't have to do this all by himself. And that's kind of where you're going. The Five of Cups, you're turned away from the partnership and you're trying to take all these wands by yourself. You know, this guy doesn't have to. Effectively, he could take 2 trips. You know, he could carry 5 wands at a time, or he could angle them differently so that his back's not going. But he's buried his head in these wands. He has his head firmly where he cannot even see where he's going. There is always an element of choice. Same as this guy can turn around. There's always an element of choice. And you've realized that you've been mentally enslaved or emotionally enslaved by very limiting and restricting emotions. You do seem to be rejecting that way of advancing, which is wonderful. But here's where the good stuff happens, Scorpio. You're going on either a literal or a spiritual journey. Knight of Wands and the Eight of Wands. That can be traveling abroad. And the Eight of Wands is when things pick up. The Eight of Wands is when things progress. The Eight of Wands is when things get a lot swifter and you're moving forward. And to me, that looks a lot more carefree. Now, the full moon this month in June is going to be in Sagittarius. So you're going to be feeling around this moon quite bold, quite confident. You will know how confident you are when this full moon arises. You'll know how you feel about money. You'll know how you feel about your self-worth and your value. And I see it being a successful time. I see it being a successful moment whereby you think, I'm a catch. I've got a lot going for myself and I'm going to live that way as though I am this person. I'm not going to take on all these burdens to make everybody else happy. And what's kind of cool about this is that if you're dealing with a fire sign where things have been really very heavy, things lighten up. But they lighten up when you do. So the timing of this is almost dependent on yourself. You know? It is a really, really, really interesting change, because to go from the 10 to the 8, it just means things get so much easier. And in comes this guy. The Knight of Wands is an enthusiast. He's bold, he's passionate, he's excited. He kind of looks like someone who's willing to help. It's someone that means well. You know, I can't help but notice that this person is still holding the 1 wand while riding a horse. And you're holding 10. So if you're in a relationship with a Knight of Wands personality who's very enthusiastic, who makes plans, it kind of looks to me, Scorpio, as though you might need to ask them to take some of these, you know, some of the weight of the relationship with you, whether this is business, whether this is romantic, because you run the risk of really seeing this person in a way where they're almost villainized. And it's not the way that people fight, it's the way that they recover after. You know, Scorpio is kind of interesting. Especially if you're dealing with an Aries, for example, because Aries, when they fight, they're kind of like back to normal the next day. And Scorpios just don't know how to do that. I actually have a friend whose moon is in Scorpio and her husband's moon is in Aries, so he is a Scorpio, but the moon in Aries makes such a difference because when they fight, he's completely back to normal, and her moon in Scorpio is gonna be weird for a few days, gonna like shut off for a little bit. And it's kind of that vibe. If you're dealing with a fire sign, they just kind of flick back to life a bit quicker than Scorpios do sometimes, because Scorpio kind of has the element of fire within them, with Mars being there, but they're still fixed water and they can be icy. So it's an interesting little change in dynamics. It just gets easier. We just find that it's easier in Gemini season. I do get the impression with the Eight of Swords here being the 8th house, you realise how enslaved you've been around that Scorpio full moon. And then the new moon is the perfect time to set intentions. So I'm going to do a couple of the spirit animal cards, and I'm going to do a love card to get the overall impression. And then in the extended, we're going to go back into this a little bit more deeply. Okay, so can bring up the water sign energies, the earth sign energies, fire, whatever else is there, and sort of look a little bit more into it. But we'll do these now. Spirit animal deck, and see what spirit animal energies we're dealing with. If you notice things like an animal that you've not seen in a while is just sitting in your garden looking at you or something, that's usually a spirit animal. An animal that sticks out to you as being significant usually is the otter. Yes. Yes, this is just, oh my goodness. Look what's underneath. The Scorpio. Okay, I'm going to take that. The otter is gorgeous. And the otter is that beautiful water sign energy as well. So that is you. But the wonderful thing about the otter is that, you know, this could be somebody else. And as I say with the Knight of Wands, you're dealing with someone who's kind of carefree, a bit more easygoing. And I think that makes you either resentful or suspicious at times. But I get the impression that when you lighten up, things get easier with this person. It's not that they mean bad things. It's just that you have these restrictions. You know, it's almost as if you associate the fun person with being unreliable, or you associate someone who's very charming to you as being probably charming to everybody else. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like you have a negative association with this type of person. I mean, for it could be just because you dated a, I keep saying fire sign, but it's more this personality. But say you dated somebody with one zodiac sign, and then you meet somebody else that you get on very, very well with. They're the same sign, and you're kind of thinking they'll just be the same. It's never the same. Scorpio, every birth chart's different. So the otter energy is someone who's incredibly playful, someone who's oh my goodness, the hyena. The hyena was underneath. I pulled that out by accident. Well, this more pulls into having a wicked sense of humor. Okay? I think that they have an aspect of themselves that seems to come out around the full moon or the new moon or something, and you always get very confused or excited about it, either or. The otter is somebody who's very playful, kind of childlike, and giddiness. And they enjoy life. And they don't worry like you do. They don't, as I say, they don't linger after fights the way you do. They don't let an argument obstruct the way they see the world. They don't let being hurt by a lover obstruct the way they see the world. Not to the same extent. And it's not because they don't feel the pain. It's simply because they have a different way of looking at it. You need otter energy in your life. You need to have fun, to go on a holiday, to dance, to have parties. It says when the otter's in balance, they're full of love and they don't need anything. And that's a Scorpio when they're content, when they're not going in on themselves. Attacking themselves. Because Scorpios, we attack ourselves so much. Scorpios, I'm pretty sure they can be taken out by their own stinger. You know what I mean? And I think the otter is an energy that you could really enjoy. Go swimming. Go to the beach. Be playful. Be childlike. Be excited. This person's bringing that out of you, so please don't fight them. They mean well, whoever this is. It's somebody who really wants to enjoy you. They have a great sense of humour. They might enjoy your humour. This is Gemini season. The hyena is all about wit, and so is Gemini. Very joking and sees the humour in life. It can be sarcastic, so it could be you. It said in the book that sometimes hyenas can hide resentments in their relationships by using, jokes. Jokes with a jibe or is it jab? Jokes with a jab, where you make a joke that you actually mean, but you try to make it sound jokey, and then all of a sudden there's an argument. You know, that kind of thing. It's like you're unable to discuss something properly. And hyenas in the book as well say when they're out of balance, they're suspicious, and that is you, Scorpio. As I say, be careful about the jokes that you make. If there is a hidden resentment, be more open, be more otter-like. You really don't need to be so suspicious. And I'm a Scorpio, so I know saying that to another Scorpio is almost offensive in many ways, but I get the impression with the Scorpion being underneath, you might want to look at what has been unresolved from the past. You know, be open and transparent about your feelings. Don't make sarcastic comments or jokes or anything like that. Be transparent. This person, honestly, with the otter, they mean so well. And as I said with the Knight of Wands, you know, he's not the most responsible person in the deck, but not every Knight of Wands is going to be a prankster. It's just simply not. But if you are feeling a little bit like the relationship is completely unworkable and top heavy, you may decide to just, you know, the Five of Cups, there is an element where, especially with the 10, you might just have had enough. But I do feel like even if you've had enough, this person's going to swing in and try and win you over. Because he's coming for you while you're holding all those wands. He's kind of coming to the rescue. That's just the vibe that I'm getting. He's coming to the rescue, and he wants to do things. He wants to travel, he wants to explore, he wants to adventure, and he wants you, Scorpio, when you're the fun hyena. You know, when you're witty, Scorpio's humor when they're at their best is unmatched, but when a Scorpio is just sarcastic, people just kind of tire of it. Do stop thinking about your broken heart, because there is unresolved issues for sure. There's the Three of Swords. It's like he's looking backwards to these Three of Swords. He's confusing his three wands with the swords. He's confusing this person's personality with the old. And if you just keep trying, here's the Two of Cups. So there's a story there. I'm going to draw the love cards. And then if you want to continue on with the extended, you can do that. But okie dokie. Quite a few here. Interesting. There's too many there, so I'm going to go with the one from the top. And I'm going to draw another one. Or another two. Inner peace and reparenting yourself. The distorted masculine. Yeah, some of you have very, very strong issues with men. And if you are a man, you feel absolutely out of your depth this month because you won't ask for help. Maybe one of the reasons you don't trust this person is because you feel like they're always... You kind of think they're egotistical. That's the problem with the distorted masculine. He's very hurt, and he tries to make himself look as manly as possible. You know, he tries to act tough, act like the hero, but all the while he's struggling with something and trying to make ends meet, but he's overwhelmed like this 10. So Scorpio, if you are overworking yourself, or if you have trust issues with men, or you are a man, distorted masculine energies, the key here is reparenting yourself and establishing inner peace, because you are enough. And you know, I get the impression that this Sagittarian full moon falling in your second house of worth is that your dynamic, your energies, your life shifts so much when you just keep telling yourself you're enough. And maybe for some of you, it leads back to a father, an absent father, or an emotionally unavailable parent or father. But it could be mother. Someone in your life that was emotionally unavailable, and you have to give yourself that love, because the truth is everybody's doing the best that they can, and there's such generational shifts now that you can understand people's psychology better. You can understand where they were coming from, and a lot of the times the translation is picked up wrong. You know, someone is worried about money all the time, so they're working a lot, and then they kind of neglect their kids because they're away working to provide. But the message that comes back is that I did this because I don't care. Do you know what I mean? The messages are changing this month, so it really is a time for you to establish your own worthiness, because once you do, it's like there's this release, especially if you are dealing with a Knight of Wands. So Scorpio, if you want to join me in the extended, please do, and if not, I will leave it there and see you guys next time. Bye.